Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. It is the player ratings. Everton 2, Boreham 0 in the 5th round of the FA Cup at Goodison Park. Everton progressing into the FA Cup quarter-final where we will face Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. A Premier League tie, an away Premier League tie, which will be an extremely difficult game of football, and evidently we will have to perform an awful lot better than we did today if we are going to get anything out of that game. It wasn't a great performance today. It certainly by any means wasn't a particularly exciting game of football. We made it extremely difficult for ourselves, as we always do, really. Why would we make it easy for ourselves when we can make it difficult for ourselves? We were in control for all of the game, I would say. I don't think there was a period in the game where we weren't in control. However, the final product certainly in that first half was really, really poor from an Everton point of view. We struggled to break down Boreham. We struggled to get in behind their defence. We struggled to create any real big opportunities, and that was frustrating. But look, at the end of the day, we won the game. It was 2-0. We won the game. We're in the next round, and that is all that matters. We have just done the instant match reaction. If you haven't checked that out, please do so. We went into a little bit more depth about the game in itself and the first half and how we improved in the second half and just basically why it wasn't a very good game of football to watch. But all of that doesn't matter because we are in the next round, and as I said, we will have to improve significantly against Crystal Palace. But I do feel like Everton have been guilty in the past, and I think still think we are to this day guilty of sort of dropping our level of performance down to match the opponent, and I think a fine example of that is that we played the best team in the country by a country mile on Saturday, and were absolutely excellent and deserved much more than what we actually got out the game, and we nullified them and managed to keep them to very few opportunities, and the goal that they scored was a scrappy goal that come from a mistake, and we should have even had an opportunity to get back into that game. And today we played one of the worst teams in the country in terms of professional footballing teams, real lower tier league, and that's no disrespect to Boreham Wood, and again we made it difficult for ourselves to really go out and dominate the game. I'd say we dominated in regards to it was always controlled and they were never really in the game, but I mean dominated it in terms of getting 4 or 5 goals and putting in a real sort of strong performance. But maybe had we have had a full strength team out, that would have been a different question. But anyway, as I said, that was all for the instant match reaction. If you want to check that out, please do so. This is the player ratings. Let's get straight into it then. Asmir Begovic, I'm going to give Asmir a 7 out of 10. I don't think he faced a single shot on target, did he? I think Boreham Wood had 1 shot in total in the entirety of the game, and I don't think it was on target at all. No, it wasn't. He had a couple of difficult sort of balls into him to deal with in terms of, passes across the box that I think he dealt with well. His kicking was okay. His throwing was particularly good. You can't half tell he's a fan of American football with that throwing. I think that's something he prides himself on. It was again, there's absolutely no need to sit here for 5 minutes and talk about Asmir Begovic because he didn't have anything to do and therefore he didn't do anything. But also therefore he didn't do anything wrong either. When he was called upon to pick the ball up or to roll it out or take goal kicks, he did it well. He didn't have to make any saves whatsoever, and he had a fairly quiet evening. And yeah, he can get a 7 for that. Vitaly Mykolenko at left back, I'm going to give Vitaly Mykolenko a 7 as well. Obviously, he come off in the second half due to what Frank Lampard has described as a dead leg. There's probably a scientific, technical term for that, but we'll go with that. Captain Everton today, which was absolutely fantastic to see, obviously after being what's going on around the world at the moment and how that has affected Vitaly Mykolenko personally. It was really, really heartwarming to see him lead the team out. Obviously the tribute to Ukraine at the start of the game with the Ukraine flags and the video that was played was very, very emotional and very hard hitting, and I think reminded all of us that in times like this, football doesn't really matter, and FA Cup ties on a Thursday night don't really matter. It's all about putting an end to what's going on over in Ukraine. However, I thought his performance was particularly good as well today. Had a shot early on in the first half, of course, which could have gone anywhere. In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Had a performance. had a shot earlier in the first half, which was on target, and I think it was a good save by the Boreham keeper. On another day, maybe that would have caused another goalkeeper, more difficulties, and maybe he would have gotten his first goal as an Everton player. Defensively, he was okay. He was capable. He dealt with everything he needed to. As I said, the defenders today were particularly solid. Partly down to the fact that Boreham didn't really have anything of the ball. And weren't particularly getting forward and weren't particularly attacking. However, I think it's important to give credit where credit's due, and I thought Vitaly Mykolenko was really, really solid today, getting forward. He put himself about. He put a couple of good balls into the box, and as I said, defensively he coped with everything well. And I think he took the armband, and he took the leadership role. And for a young lad who's got so much going on at the moment on his plate and in his personal life, I think he done really, really well. So he's getting an 8 out of 10. Jared Branthwaite in the middle. Jared Branthwaite can get an 8 out of 10 as well. Actually, Mykolenko's getting a 9 out of 10. Branthwaite can get an 8 out of 10 as well. Again, really, really solid performance. Look, albeit, in the context of the game that we were playing, in the context of the game that we were watching, he didn't really have to do an awful lot. The Boreham forwards didn't put, either of the defence under any particular pressure. He made one bad pass in the second half, which could have caused problems, but the Boreham attacker decided to lash the ball into the stands instead of actually moving forward, Branthwaite. But I think overall today he was solid. It was a good 90 minutes under his belt. It was a good performance. And he dealt with everything he needed to. It was calm, it was assured, he moved the ball well when he needed to, any bits of defending he needed to do, I think he sorted out as well. And yeah, it was just a solid performance. We can get an 8 out of 10. Next to him, Michael Keane, similarly, can get an 8 out of 10. Again, didn't have an awful lot to do, wasn't called upon an awful lot in this one. But, it's these types of games where Michael Keane in the past has been, known to make absolutely ridiculous mistakes that sort of make you scratch your head and think, how have you done that? Whereas there was none of that today. It was solid, it was calm, it was collected, it was cool, it was just, everything he needed to do, he done well. As I said, he wasn't put under any ridiculous amount of pressure from Boreham attackers, or he wasn't made to make any ball busting defensive moves, was he? Let's be perfectly honest. But everything he needed to sort out, he sorted out well. And then John Joe Kenny on the right/left. In the second half, I'm going to give John Joe a 9. I actually think John Joe was man of the match today. Really, really good performance. I think he was a standout player in an Everton shirt. Battled, really, really well when he needed to. He's got a sort of a... He's become sort of a utility player at the moment, John Joe Kenny. He can play left back, he can play right back. He's not afraid to put himself about, and I think Frank Lampard has really, really taken to John Joe Kenny. Now, obviously, there's a conversation to be had about his contractual situation and what the club's decision should be in regards to John Joe Kenny, because there's as much of an argument to sell him now as there would be to give him a new contract, because his value now will be significantly higher than what it has been, recently, and what it might be in the near future. But all as we can do is look at his performances and look at the way in which he's been putting himself about on the football pitch and the way in which he's been performing in an Everton shirt. And I think he's been performing well recently, and I think today was another one of those games. I don't think he put a foot wrong. As I said, defensively he worked hard, he was getting forward, he was moving the ball well, his passing was good, his interceptions were good, his physicality was good. I think he was really, really good today, and it may be unlucky to not get a 10 out of 10, but I'm not giving anyone a 10 out of 10 for that performance today. But I do think John Joe was the standout for me. He was my man of the match. So John Joe can get a 9 out of 10. Into the midfield, it was sort of a 5 at the back, really, wasn't it? We've covered Vitaly Mykolenko there. Nathan Patterson then making his Everton debut as a right wing back sort of position, I suppose. I'm going to give Nathan Patterson a 7 out of 10 as well today. I think he held himself really, really well. Considering it was his debut, considering it was his first game in an Everton shirt, first team game in an Everton shirt. I thought he done really, really well. I don't want to get too carried away with his performance, because we have to understand the team that we were playing, and we have to understand the situation that it was in. But you've simply got to give credit where credit is due. And I thought his movement today was good. I thought his passing was really good. On the ball, he looked sharp. On the ball, he looked like he was first to everything. He was getting there. He was ahead of the attackers. He was ahead of whoever was going for the ball with him. But as I said, you do have to look at the context of this situation, and pardon me, the context of this situation tells you that we were against a poor opposition, and therefore Nathan Patterson should have been consoling this game. Nathan Patterson should have been able to deal with the opposition and should have been able to play the ball around them, and he did that really, really well. If I have one criticism of him, it would probably be his crossing, his final ball in attacking areas, and I know that will only get better, and I know that it's his first game, and I will cut him some slack for that. But his final ball in attacking areas, I think, could do with a little bit of improvement. But as a debut goes, as a first game, as an Everton player in an Everton shirt goes, I thought he performed particularly well today. I do, so he can get 7 out of 10 as well. Into the midfield then, Alan is getting an 8.5 out of 10 today. Consoled the game. Consoled the midfield. He'd probably have gotten a higher score if he didn't lash the only shot that he took into row Z of the Gladys Street. But, as you would expect with a player like Alan, he was calm, he was cool, he was collected. I didn't really want him to start this game because I think I would rather have had Alan have had an extra couple of days rest and be ready for the game against Spurs on Monday than, ultimately playing tonight and obviously his fitness levels maybe being impacted in Monday's game, but hopefully that isn't the case. But in terms of his performance, as I said, can't really fault him. Worked the ball well, passed it well, got the interceptions in when he needed to, real sort of bulldog performance as you would have expected, and I think that the Boreham Wood midfield had a really, really troubling time dealing with him, so he's getting an 8.5. And Abdoulaye Doucouré, you can get a 7.5 out of 10. Again, solid performance. I think some of his decision making was poor at times. I think there was a couple of times when he had the ball facing sort of forward, in a positive area, and he sort of turned round and double checked himself a couple of times. But look, he is only just coming back from injury. We can't forget, this is only his second game back since he's picked up an injury. It was good minutes under his belt, good game time to get that match fitness back up and that match sharpness back up, and hopefully we'll see him increase his levels against Tottenham as well. So Abdoulaye Doucouré can get a 7.5. And then into the forward line, Andros Townsend, I'm going to give Andros a 6 today. I really, really wasn't impressed with him, if I'm being honest with you. I really, really wasn't impressed with him. I think against a side like Boreham Wood, and again, that's absolutely no disrespect to Boreham Wood, but against a team like the team that we were playing, I think Andros should have shown a little bit more. I think his passing should have been a little bit better. I think his crossing should have been a little bit better. I think his end product should have been a little bit better. Look, he put himself about, he worked hard, and in a general sense, he done okay. As I said, in a general sense, his passing was okay. He didn't really make many mistakes. He wasn't particularly losing the ball or giving it away or, putting us under any real pressure. But I expected a little bit more out of him. I don't think it was his best game. I actually think he was lucky to stay on in the second half, to be perfectly honest with you, because I think that first half, don't get me wrong, everybody was poor, but I think in that first half he was particularly poor. But, as I said, I understand the circumstances and it is what it is. Anthony Gordon on the other side, I'm going to give Anthony Gordon a 7.5 as well. I think he worked hard. I think he battled. I think, yes, at times he maybe was trying to be a little bit too clever. Yes, at times he was maybe trying a little bit too much, trying to do a little bit too much. But you could tell he just wanted to get him, involved. You could tell he just wanted to get on the score sheet. You could tell that he was just playing his heart out, as he does Anthony Gordon. He always gives absolutely everything when he's on that pitch in an Everton shirt, and I don't think today was any exception. Was it his best game in an Everton shirt? No, it wasn't. But again, it was a good opportunity for him to get out there and ultimately, he's played a lot of football recently, Anthony Gordon. So again, you get another opportunity, I dare say, on Monday to show himself, and another opportunity on Monday to show that quality and show that that ability that he has on the ball. But he worked hard, he ran round, he worked hard, he battled, he put himself about. It wasn't his greatest performance, but he done okay. He done okay, in my opinion. And then Solomon Rondon, the match winner, scored a brace today. Very nearly had a hat-trick. Probably should have had a hat-trick, to be fair. I mean, the chance he missed was an easier chance than the ones that he scored. I'm gonna give Solomon a 9 today. Listen, I don't think it would be fair to give anybody else a higher score. I don't think he was a 10 out of 10. In fact, I probably don't think he was a 9 out of 10. But he scored the 2 goals. He won the game. His first goal is a really good bit of movement, and it's a good finish. His second goal is ultimately, a good header, over the line. I do think it has to be said, in the first half I thought he was absolutely atrocious. I really, really do. But the second half, look, he won the game for us. We've won the game 2-0, and both goals have come from Solomon Rondon. Had he have not scored, we'd probably still be at Goodison Park now watching penalties. So for that reason alone, I'm happy to say that he was he deserved to be at least up there with man of the match, joint man of the match. But look, again, he come alive. He used his body. He worked hard. Listen, he is what he is. He's not great. His movement isn't great. He goes down far too easily for me for the size of him. But he was in the right place at the right time, and he scored the 2 winning goals, and there's a lot to be said about that, and he has to be given credit for that, and I'm happy for him. Hopefully that'll give him a lot of confidence. Hopefully that'll do him the world of good. On to the substitutes then. Before we finish, let's fly through these. Richarlison can get a 8. I think he come on, and I think he just upped the tempo a little bit. I think he just upped the commitment. I think he just upped the levels of Everton, really. I think it was no surprise that when Richarlison come on, the levels of the rest of the team, were up, because that's exactly what he demands as a player. He was unlucky to not score. I think the handball decision, as we spoke about in the instant match reaction, is probably the right one, but just highlights the corruption in the Premier League even more. But no, again, as I said, I thought he'd come on and he done well. Seamus Coleman, Seamus can get a 7 as well. As I said, come on himself, worked hard, put himself about, just showed the game up, brought that little bit of professionalism, brought that little bit of that little bit of experience in there to the back line, and I thought he done solid. Isaac Price coming on as well, had a little bit of a run with the ball, moved the ball a little bit forward. We didn't see an awful lot of him, but again, I'll give him a 7.5 for coming on and making his Everton debut, and as I said, the odd couple of chances that he did have with the ball, he ran forward with it, played a good pass, and yeah, good to see him get his debut. Lewis Dobbin can get a 7.5 as well. I actually think he come on and he was trying to move the ball, he was trying to work it well, he was obviously trying to create and trying to get himself into good areas, and there was a couple of chances where I think he had the ball and wood defenders on their toes. Nothing really come of it, and he didn't really have an awful lot of time to make something of it, but he done okay when he come on. And then Reece Welsh making his debut as well. Reece Welsh can get a 7 as well, a 7.5 as well. Look, he again, not really much for him to do. When he got the ball, he passed it well. He used his body well. He's a big lad, Reece Welsh, as well. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing him in action an awful lot more over the coming, weeks and months. But the reality is, these young lads, again, they didn't have much involvement today, but it will have done them the world of good, and it will do their confidence the world of good to get on that pitch at Goodison Park in a competitive game, and make those progressions in their career. I would have liked to have seen Lewis Dobbin earlier in the game, certainly, but hopefully we see him a lot more in the near future as well. But there you go. They are the player ratings. Let us know your thoughts on them in the comment section down below. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. As I said before, the instant match reaction is live on the channel now, so if you want to go and check that out, please do so. If you watched it as a live stream, then big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the comments. If you watch this as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below and we'll get involved with as many of them. I'm about to go and take myself to bed because I've got to be up early tomorrow to do the game review. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Wasn't pretty today, but we're in the next round. We've won the game, and that's all that matters. Get in, up the toffees, one step closer to Wembley. Yes, get in. See you all later.